a lot of the things that I quote unquote failed at that's the whole reason why I do a podcast. It's the whole reason why I have Lovely Esteem. It's the whole reason why I'm allowed to connect with other people.
This ain't your average healing chat. It's healing through conversations with me, Loveli Brown. Real talk, deep healing, zero fluff.
Flashing lights, 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 lights. Boop, 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 boop. Hey guys, welcome back to the Healing Through Conversations podcast. This is your girl, Lovely. Y'all know on my podcast, we actually talk about healing that we've done. We talk about healing that we're working on. We talk about things that we've gone through, and we do it together because, listen, I want to tell you that healing is like this super spiritual, very peaceful, calm place, and it is not. It is not. Sometimes healing feels very volatile. Healing feels very volatile. And I had the honor of speaking at a fashion show, and the fashion show was called Living Epistles. And I said, "Oh, we're going deep into that? We're going deep into that?" And it said, yeah, deep, deep into the spiritual side of what's going on. And I had to really look inside and figure out what was I trying to say. Like when you do a uh speaking engagement, you hope that not only do you connect with the audience, that you are articulate, right? That you convey vulnerability and connectiveness and some joy, but also honesty, right? And I feel like when we're talking about living epistles, you're really talking about the vulnerable sides of yourself that help you become this walking letter to the world. And I said, I'm not sure that some of those letters in my life I really wanted to talk about, but I had to realize that a lot of those letters, a lot of the things that I quote unquote failed at that's the whole reason why I do a podcast. It's the whole reason why I have Lovely Esteem. It's the whole reason why I'm allowed to connect with other people. That is not easy, okay? Because sometimes woo, sometimes, y'all, sometimes. Now, as I stated, I'm the host. I'm a certified life, business, and entrepreneurial coach. I have a company called Lovely Esteem. Boom, 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 boom. I also wrote 4 books, and I absolutely wanted to talk to you guys about the work that I've put in to get to where I am, not because it's a bragging thing or anything like that, but if you have been around me at all, you know that I find beauty in testimony, right? And I find beauty in being able to talk about who you are and where you come from, right? I said to my mom, I was like, holy ratchet. Sometimes I'm holy, sometimes I'm ratchet, but all the time I'm for God. And when I feel like that, I feel like maybe we need to have more conversations about that. And I feel like a lot of us, we think that the stories that we have lived are liabilities, right? And we treat them as baggage that we have to manage versus just understanding that what we've been through is the reason why somebody trusts us. What we've been through is the reason why our story is credible, right? It's like I want to go to a gynecologist that has been through a pap smear so that I can talk to them about my discomfort with a pap smear, right? I want to go to a woman who has gone to therapy so that I can express how it feels when I'm in therapy. And I feel like that's the same way it is in life. Sometimes you feel like you were skipped over because people couldn't see the good in you. But it wasn't that. It was just that your message didn't align with someone else's message. And that is absolutely perfectly fine because we're all walking letters. We're all walking messages. We're all people who are out here trying to figure out what it looks like to live a life that we're proud of, but also realizing that some of the things that we're carrying, the messages that we're carrying, is absolutely the reason why people want to walk with us and talk with us and see us. And how do you feel about that? What does it look like to have somebody read your message right now? Are you proud of that message? I was like, I feel like yes, no, maybe we can talk about it, right? Because it feels kind of scary. But the reason the messages that I've been putting out have allowed me to not only write books, it's allowed me to create a podcast. It's allowed me to feel freer as a woman who is aging to talk about what it's like for beauty and hormones and perimenopause and laughter and relationships and family and sisterhood, all of these different spaces that are part of my personal journey. But it allows me to not only promote us women as full beings, but to know that my story is helping another woman find her place. Your story is here to help another woman find their place. You're not going through all of these things by yourself. There are people who can absolutely walk with you, talk with you, pray with you, laugh with you, curse with you. Because, baby, let me tell you something. If you think I haven't used a string of words together, now, I'm not saying I'm a good cursor. I'm not gonna say that. The Lord knows my heart, but he also knows that this mouth is different. So, I want you to figure out where you wanna be while we're listening to this podcast, right? Maybe you washing dishes. You could be eating a good hoagie. Tell me about it. I'm hungry. You could be smashing down on some popcorn or a brownie. You might be in your car trying to take that 30-minute, right? You could be doing all those things. But I want you to remember that at any point during my podcast, you feel like, hey, that hit a nerve. Take a break from me. Take a break from me. I'm okay because I know that what's meant for you will be for you, and what's meant for me will be for me. And that's what we're going to talk about being living epistles. What is our messages saying to the world? And are we proud of the messages that we're giving out? Not the perfection, the messages, the transitions. Let's talk about it. So, the question I'm going to ask you is if someone was reading you right now, today, like, not your resume, not your social media, not the highlights, not that version of us that would be like, "I'm so fine. Everything's fine. We're okay. We're okay." We're not okay. We're not okay, right? What would that letter say? And how are we really conveying our messages to the world? When I was asked to write about living epistles, I wanted to not only come at it from, like, a metaphoric kind of perspective, but I want it to come from a spiritual perspective as well. Because I feel like when we are adjusting our lives to understand how we are communicating to the world, it can be in so many different ways, right? It can be feel like poetry, it could feel like a letter, it could be rap, it could be subtitles. It just depends on it could be your body language, it could be how you carry yourself on the outward, like the aesthetics of it all, right? But I wanted us to understand that at the end of the day, it's about our heart, what we're trying to do to make us better people as we move forward. That was really big for me. And Second Corinthians talks about being a walking letter, being a letter to the world. And it was like, I get what you're saying, right? It's like, how do we communicate? How do our children read us? How do our colleagues read us? How do our moms read us? Our spouses, our husbands, people in the world, our friends? And how do we navigate this world that can be difficult sometimes to read and not just see the outward appearance, how we see, like to be able to see into who a person is. And do we have to always have on this perfectionist suit? How do we always have to wear this suit of armor in order to live, or are we allowed to let those things down? Now, I will say that as a Black woman, I don't feel like I'm allowed to let a lot of things down. And people who know me know, I will tell you, A, I wear wigs, B, I love makeup because I do, and C, I giggle when older women tell me I look pretty. And I'm married, okay? Married to a man that I love to death, but I don't want a man to compliment me particularly just because that's just not how I was raised. I was raised to respect the word of women. And I was also raised not for the validation of men, but for the connection of friendship, right? So if a friend says, "Hey, you look nice today," that is so cool to me, but I do not do aesthetics to make sure that men are happy. And that part of my personality, which usually is read, is, oh, she's stuck up, right? She thinks she all that. Why do you have to act like that? Smile, sweetheart. I'm like, baby, I wasn't put on earth to perform for you. I was put on earth to make sure that whatever mission I was given, I complete that mission before my time is up. And since I don't know when that's up, I can't perform for you. One, I don't have any rhythm. Number two, this mouth say a lot of weird things. And three, I just feel like God put me here for a greater purpose than just to look aesthetically appealing to somebody that I'm not going to talk to in the next 5 minutes. But that can make people uncomfortable, right? Right? That can make people uncomfortable. And so realizing that as you're moving through this world and you're maneuvering what it looks like to be you in corporate spaces, what it looks like to be you in entrepreneurial spaces, what it looks like to be you in your spiritual spaces, what it looks like to be you on a daily basis, it all changes. But your transitions that you go through, right? Those detours that we try to ignore, those things that we don't want to talk about because we feel like it makes us look less than. Those are the things that people pay attention to. Those are the things that when you can get up after falling on your face, we fall down, baby. Sometimes you fall down and you're laying on the ground for so long that you roll over and you look up and all you feel is rain, right? It's just like it feels like you can't figure it out. And you get to the point where you get so tired of laying down that you roll over and you try to crawl, right? And as you're crawling, you're feeling more secure about who you are and where you are in your space. And then you kneel up. And as you're kneeling up, you might start praying, you might start chanting, you might start um using your mantras and your affirmations, right? You are connecting with your spiritual self so well that it allows you to put that one foot straight on the ground and you stand up. Now, maybe your knees are weak, maybe they're a little bit wobbly, but you still do it, right? And when you stand up, it gives you so much hope. You start trying to figure out, okay, what does this new version of me look like? What does this honest version of me look like? What does this unpolished version of me look like? Because when you connect with people truly, they usually connect with the unpolished version of you. And I had to realize that I've spent so many years doing a lot of work. I'm still working on myself all the time, but I've done such a genuine introspective amount of work on myself that sometimes it looks like it's easy, but it's not, right? Because when you are correcting yourself in real time, when you are allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to be open, to be connective, give yourself grace, to be kind in real time, it can delay how you connect with other people, which then makes your letter look a little inauthentic. And I had to realize that other people who heal like that will get to see that, right? And so I talk about the things that I've been through in my marriage that wasn't always great, the kind of wife that I've been that was not always great, the kind of mother that I strived to be, that I got to be, and I continue to do those things for my kids, what it's like to be a friend with me. I'm not the best communicator, meaning I will communicate with you when we're together, but when we're not together, you be like, yo, did she disappear? No, I'm watching you. I'm cheering for you, reposting, saying hello, doing all the things, but I need a lot of time by myself. Okay? I need a lot of time by myself because my healing can be very volatile. And I had to realize that that's also something that I communicate, right? It's like, oh, she's standoffish. And I wasn't standoffish. I just realized that my healing process took me a bit of time. But when people learn more about you and they get to understand who you are, the letter that they receive is a genuine letter because you aren't trying to be well put together. You aren't trying to convince everybody that you're fine. You going to tell the truth at the wrong moment. Baby, you going to tell the truth at the wrong moment. I had to realize, oh my God, the letter that I say, my letter probably look ratchet sometimes. It probably don't look so good. It's not curated, it's not polished, but it's powerful sometimes. And that is the message that I receive. Like when I talk to a lot of my friends, the message that I receive from them is that we're all on this journey together. And this journey looks different for all of us. It looks vulnerable for all of us. It looks fractured for all of us, but it also looks joyful. It can be places in our lives where we feel elated and we feel peaceful. We're learning how to communicate better and understand each other better. We're realizing that a lot of the ways we connect is not over trauma, but over those trials and tribulations that turn into triumph. And that was like one of the things that I wanted to relay, right? Yes, your transitions can feel so devastating, but having these conversations with each other, showing what it looks like to not only fail, but really just understand that you're learning lessons and taking those lessons and having more conversations about it. Because I feel like when we are in a place when we're not trying to influence another person and we're not trying to like perform for another person, we genuinely just become better communicators, better friends, better connective people, better spiritual people, better bridges, because I was not always that way. Okay. All right. That was not always that way. And I had to realize that from a coaching perspective, it takes a minute to get to a place where you want anybody to read your letter. Sometimes you hit a spot in your life where you like, if I could delete that part of my life, I would. 100%. It would never, ever see light. It wouldn't even see that little black hole, baby. It would not. And those are usually the moments where you've learned something so devastatingly honest about yourself that whenever you share it, even if it's with one person or hundreds of people, they connect with you so quickly. I was like, okay, so if someone was reading our letters right now for this week, what would it look like, right? They read our patterns, how we carry ourselves, how we treat other people, um, how we treat ourselves, right? And it happens so quickly. Like in under 30 seconds, people are like, boo, 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 boo. It might be even 7 seconds, boo, 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 boo. Cause baby, I listened to stories at 2.5. She was in love. I'm like, oh my God, she was in love. Girl, you need to at least 1.5 so the person sound like a person and not like a minion. But we have to realize that a lot of the times the messages that we're sending out are just it's communication that comes from our trauma. It's communication that comes from our triumphs. It's communication that comes from the people who raised us. It's communication coming from the TV shows that we watch, the music that we listen to, all of these different places and seasons that we've gone through in our lives. And I said, you know what? When we decide to stand in our light, right? And that light is not always beautiful. That light is not always clean. That light, a lot of the times, does not paint us in the best light, right? But it's our decision to be authentically who we are in the moment because then we don't have to pretend or remember a lie or remember what we told another person or remember the performance because a lot of us are tired of performing. I will tell you, as a 50-year-old, baby, I am tired of performing acts of anything that does not align with who I am. I just, it comes off phony. I say it, and then I look at you like this because I don't like the way that shit tastes in my mouth. Okay. And say, my God. My God, if I have to pretend to be anybody else in order to be in this room, I'm not going to be in the room. Right. And that shows that's another way that people read you when you walk into a space and your shoulders are up to your ears and you're trying to figure out like why did I even show up here? This don't even feel like a space for me. That comes off and people read that about us when you can walk into a space as yourself, which is not easy, right? I'm not saying that we don't have anxiety sometimes. I'm not saying that we don't have to walk into fear with faith. I'm not saying those things. But when you genuinely go into spaces that don't suit who you are anymore, not who you want to be, right? Who you are anymore. People read that as they're walking by you. And I said, I I don't want to do that, right? Because where I am right now is so far away from where I was when I was on the floor crying, when I was trying to figure out how to stand up and not have the wobbly new stripper legs, right? When I was not put in a place of kindness and understanding, when my safe spaces didn't exist. I'm so far from that place right now. And I'm allowed to change the location in my head so that I can become a walking epistle for the life that I am living now. I don't have to keep reliving the things that I've gone through. Now, I will say this, sometimes we keep reliving a situation because we haven't talked about it. We haven't grieved. We haven't we haven't allowed ourselves to bend to the will of prayer, right? We haven't allowed ourselves to grieve with the anger that we're allowed to grieve with. And we spend a lot of time trying to um dodge situations because we don't want to deal with it. We don't want to have the conversation. We don't want to deal with somebody's emotional moods. We don't want to do all those things. But the truth is that in in a spiritual realm, you're going to have to keep fighting the demons until you really face them. And some of us have these moments where we've been fighting the same demon with a different face and a different car at the different location, but it's the same demon. And until we say, you know what, I need to admit that this thing hurts, this moment hurts, this situation was not for me, I shouldn't be here. I owe it to myself to have better communication with myself. I owe it to myself to be in spaces where I can communicate who I am now. I'm allowed to mourn and grieve. I'm allowed to celebrate and dance and find joy. I'm allowed to be all of these different people, but I'm no longer um like prescribing to performance in order to prove that I'm a person. And particularly being a Black woman who was raised to get over it, to deal with it, to be stronger, to not let them see you in weakness. I do understand it. Shit. In 50 years, you don't think I've lived that moment? Multiple times with multiple wigs and multiple lip combos? It. Okay, I was tired of living that life. And I said, you know what? The best thing that I can do for anybody who ever meets me again in my life is to try to be 100% me in every moment. That doesn't mean that I don't fall down. It doesn't mean that I don't have moments where I clam up and corporate Lisa comes back out, right? But Lovely gets to live a whole life. She gets to be very free. And I'm like, Lovely changes wigs. Lovely lives this life that she has provided herself space to be authentic in her happiness, authentic in her peace, authentic in her search for joy, authentic in her sadness, authentic in her inquisitiveness, right? And I feel like when you inquire about what other people are going through, when you have these daily doses of conversations and connections, when you allow yourself to um put out feelers in a room, and you connect with the feelers that come back that feel positive to you, but you allow yourself to understand that you don't have to tolerate any energy that does not set you up. It gives you permission to have awareness. It gives you permission for integration. It gives you permission for alignment. It gives you permission to find legacy. And it allows you to really see yourself in this full connective space. So I say to you, if you are having a moment where you don't like the letter that you are, I mean, yes, the letters that you are putting out, ask yourself, how can I change the way the world reads me? And I don't mean everybody. I'm talking about your best friend. I'm talking about your mama. I'm talking about your pops. I'm talking about your grandkid. I'm talking about your coworker, your cool coworker that you just love to death. I'm talking about the old lady at the market who smiled at you and was like, it's going to be okay, right? How do we allow ourselves to be the walking letters that we want to be without stunting our growth? Because we can do that so easily. We can be very high functioning performers. Baby, let me tell you something. All it does is give you bad knees and you get the meat sweats. Not the meat sweats, hot flashes. You get the meat sweats too. But I wanted to really just have us think about that. What does it look like to not only integrate our authentic selves with the stories that we've gone through? What does recovery look like, right? What does it look like to say, I'm consistent about the way I'm trying to heal and that my world looks a little bit different, but the vision of myself that has changed is more consistent with where I want to be and who I see myself as, not who other people see themselves as, right? And realizing that as we stop looking at these transitions as like detours and really look at them as lessons learned, when we stop saying that we were lucky and realize that we are spiritually guided in a lot of spaces, to realize that you work really hard to have autonomy of who you are and where you want your life to go. And if you aren't working hard on that, think, like, how can I do that? Right? How can I be more aligned with the letters that I want to portray to the world? Like, how can I be more authentically me? What does that even look like? Do I know what that looks like? What does it sound like in my head? Because it doesn't always feel like that. Sometimes it feels like, am I pretending? Am I faking this? Like, what can I do? And so I want you to think about these three things that we can practice. Remember, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes consistent, and consistency allows you to see yourself as a fuller, whole person. It is not easy, but it is something we can do. One of the things that we can do, we can ask ourselves like a question. And multiple times, we're going to sit down and be very honest with ourselves, right? If someone is reading my life right now, not my words, not. Mm. So I want us to think about three things that we can do this week that we can practice for consistency, not for perfection. I don't want you to overwhelm yourself, but we're going to ask ourselves a couple of questions, right? First, ask yourself about the letter, right? What does that mean? And we have to keep asking ourselves, what am I putting out there? What kind of story, what kind of love letter, what kind of discretions or am I putting out to the world? Am I writing about joy? Am I writing about um the trauma I've been through? Am I writing about how I'm rebuilding my life? What does it look like? What does my life look like? And am I even comfortable having people read me? Does it make me uncomfortable? What kind of lessons would they learn from me, right? Those type of things. And then I want you to identify where you are in your journey. Again, like I said earlier, are you laying on the floor, face up, tears just being rained on? Are you crawling, right? You trying to figure out your way? Are you in prayer position, right? Are you standing up but you feel a little wobbly now and you're just trying to figure out what you need to do? Or are you starting to like get your footing? Because we do all of these things and we need to do them without shame. Being honest about where you are in your life, man, it is so freeing because you don't have to come up with a new story. Baby, you know how hard it is keeping all of the different compartments of your life separated because you don't want these friends to know about this. You don't want these people to know about this. You change your hair when you go to this place. I'm all for changing wigs. Y'all didn't see my platform. But I don't change my wigs just because you didn't like my wig. I changed my wig because it got knotty. I changed my wig because I wanted to cut it. I changed my wig because I saw that my lace looked bad. Okay? That's the way I work. And number 3, I want you to name a chapter in your life that you've been skimming from. Not fixing. We're not fixing it, right? We are just acknowledging it. Acknowledging that time in our life where we decided we wanted to blackball ourselves. We wanted to not talk about it. We turned the lights off. We said, you know what? I'm going to turn this light off, leave this memory in the attic, and I'm never going to Anne Frank this. It's never going to, baby, this thing is going to die with me. Give it a name. Give it a name, right? Like, look, Barbara, I don't like how you lived your life. I don't want to do it. So I'm going to turn the lights off. I'm going to turn the unplug the lifeline, right? And I want us to figure out how we can integrate the lessons that we learn from that thing. Again, therapists, counselors, mentors, spiritual guide, friendships, sister circles, brother circles. I am so big on having community to help you figure out how to stop controlling what your peace looks like. Your peace, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, it needs a lot of room to shine, and you need a lot of support to hold that sucker up, right? One person can be tons of support. Multiple people can be the least supportive people, right? So I'm just saying, you find in safe spaces to talk about these things and to be in a space where we not only allow ourselves to be the walking letters, these walking, living epistles that we want to be, but that we can look at ourselves as full people and realize that the story that we're skipping is really the story that helped us become these people who understand, who have open hearts, who are trying to connect with people, who are trying to figure out ways for them to heal and to heal with other people. And to realize that it doesn't matter where we are in the process, either on the floor, crawling, prayer, somewhere in between, we can still be these beautiful letters. It's not a verdict, right? You're not doomed. Sometimes transitions are just locations, and locations change all the time, especially when we decide to what? Stop laying on the floor and do what? Crawl a little bit, right? And then get in that prayer position. And then we standing on those strip of legs, right? Then we start running, baby, because we are moving out of the way. So I want you to just think about, if someone's reading my letter right now, what does that say about me? Right? Eh? I'm writing a book. I'm writing another book called Living Epistles. I was excited about it because I wanted to write a book and do a workbook along with it. And I invite you to stay tuned. Listen, follow for more information. You can go to my website, www.LoveliEsteem.com, LoveliEsteem, so that you can receive updates. I'm updating my website, so we'll see what happens. I can't promise you anything. This life is expensive, right? But we all are these complicated, beautiful, messy, sometimes ratchet living letters, but it's our lives, and our lives are worth living. Our lives are worth talking about. We are absolutely full people that have powerful things that happen to us, and we exist without having to edit everything out. At the beginning of my podcast, I wanted you to really just think about what your letter would say, and I've said it throughout this whole podcast. Think about that, right? Think about what it's like to feel good about your honesty, because we don't get to do that very often. We have to perform for so many people. Think about what it would be like to walk through the world as the person that you see yourself being, good, bad, or indifferent, versus the person that everybody else wants you to be, and you have to keep remembering to keep the suit on in order to carry your message throughout the world. I just wanted to talk about it because, listen, life is real short. It's like this long. And we got one full life that we know about, right? And so I'm always interested in having these deeper conversations. And I'll let you guys know when the book and the workbook comes out because I feel like, oh my God, it's so good. I'm so excited about the book. And don't forget, I have other books on the market. I'm sorry, affirmations for Zenful Baddies, mantras for the awakened soul, positive thinking journal, and Hey, That's My Best Friend. I really love the Hey, That's My Best Friend because it allows you to connect with people in a way that you don't always think about, but it gives you like some little things to do. I really want to go thrifting with my bestie, but I have to do it on like a Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning before people go because then I'll want to leave. And that can't happen because we both are still working hard. So hard, honey. Anyway, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. I want you to send this particular episode to anybody that you know that's still on the floor and trying to figure out how to stand up because we deserve to do that. Leave a message, right? I need some reviews for my podcast. y'all don't y'all listen. This life ain't for the weak. You get it? The podcast comes out almost every week. It's a healing community, right? It's not always something nice. It's not always something joyful. Sometimes we talk about some things that make us feel a certain kind of way, right? But we're always working on being open, honest, and connective because I truly believe that learning how to articulate your feelings, wants, needs, and desires is the best way to advocate for yourself and the people that you love. So, dear living epistles, your story will forever be written by experience, refined by transition, and held together by something stronger than what tried to break you. Like that brownie that was that monkey bread, that cookie that I took down. Anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. Lovely out.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you found some healing, connection, and joy. Until next time, bye, loves.